जो मांगे सतगुरु अपने थे, सोई देवे। जो मांगे सतगुरु अपने थे, सोई देवे। जो मांगे सतगुरु अपने थे, सोई देवे।
Thank you. Welcome, friends, to the second day of our workshop and seminar on the spiritual path. This song you just heard is from a holy scripture of the Sikh community in India. It's my favorite song because it says, whatever you ask from your master, whatever you ask from the Lord, he will give you. It reminds me of a book called The Secret. That whatever you think positively, you get it. There are so many different songs in Indian literature which say the same thing. That whatever you want, you can get it. There's only one snag. The song does not say what your mind wants. It says what you want. It does not say that just by asking you can get your mind's wishes fulfilled. It says your wishes can be fulfilled. If you hear the rest of the songs connected with this, you will notice that they all emphasize the difference between you and your mind. And they say that the mind leads you somewhere else, you want to go somewhere else. Our souls are our self, not our minds. A mind is not the same thing as our soul. The soul has consciousness, the soul has beauty, joy, the soul has intuition, and the soul has spontaneity and functions without time and space. When you have a gut feeling, it comes to you without having to think about it. When you think about it, very often that feeling goes away. Whereas the mind will always function through thoughts, which take time, which occur in space, and follow the law of cause and effect. The soul does not follow any of these laws. Therefore, there is a big difference between the soul and the mind. Yet the life force, the motive force, is always provided by the soul. That alone has consciousness and life. All force that is provided to the mind, to the senses, to the body is given to us by the soul. Therefore, this is addressed to the soul. This song, whatever the soul wants, it can get. The soul always wants union with its reality. The soul is always seeking it. The soul feels separated from its totality. The soul is lonely. And we feel that loneliness in us. We all feel lonely. We may admit it or not. We try to overcome our loneliness by making use of the external experiences of this world. We try to make relationships. We try to acquire things. We try to build up our homes. We try to buy things, go shopping. We try to have children. We try to have families, friends. All these are efforts to satisfy the yearning of the soul to overcome its loneliness. But none of these things actually satisfy the soul. They are all superficial. And we find out sooner or later that all these relationships with everything and everybody in the world is only skin deep. It does not reach the soul. And the soul continues to feel lonely. It's only when the soul can meet its own totality, its own creator, its own Lord, within itself, it feels satisfied and the loneliness disappears. So therefore, the spiritual path is the real answer to the problem of soul's loneliness. And therefore, it's recommended that do not follow the path of the mind, follow the path of the soul. Follow the path which the soul seeks, which is to overcome loneliness by discovering where it originates from, what's it part of, where it is true home. And therefore, the soul will take you back to the true home only when you leave the company of the mind and move inwards toward the soul. The company of the mind takes you outward. whereas the yearning of the soul is inward. The two directions are different. We are constantly going outside because we identify ourselves with the mind. We think we are the mind, and therefore we are seeking everything outside of ourselves. Whereas if we were to listen to the yearning of the soul, we would look for everything inside ourselves, inside our consciousness. So we are being misled in a way into a direction that does not remove our loneliness. There's a story in India. I told you some stories yesterday. We have stories of kings and queens. And there's a story about a king who had a beautiful daughter, and the king was hoping that the daughter will marry a prince and live a happy, royal, regal life. But she fell in love. She fell in love with an ordinary guy, commoner in the street. And the king was a little disappointed that I thought my daughter will live a royal life, marry a prince, but she's fallen in love with a commoner. And he said, okay, at least the love is true, therefore she will be happy. But that guy on the street did not really love her. He had relationships with several prostitutes, 5 of them. He would visit those 5 prostitutes. The life of that daughter was like hell. So this is a story of our soul. The king is our father, our creator. The soul is the daughter. The mind is the guy the soul has got married to. And instead of loving the soul, it goes after the 5 senses, which are the prostitutes. It is our situation that instead of the soul rejoicing in its own home, rejoicing in totality, which is a place of great bliss and great joy, instead of enjoying that, it is going around with the mind, and the mind is not even loving the soul. The mind is going astray, looking for sense pleasures outside in this world, and the soul, poor soul, is in distress because of this situation and remains lonely. So the spiritual path teaches us to realize the situation and not depend upon the sense perceptions, not depend upon external attachments for removing the loneliness of the soul, but go within and discover your true home, where you belong, where there is royalty, and you will find that there is a royal road leading to that. The royal road that leads to the home of the soul is always connected to us. It is not an alien road sitting somewhere else. It's a road that is available to us. Only we have to open the 10th door behind our eyes. We did a little meditational practice yesterday to see where the 10th door is. The 10th door lies above the 9 doors and behind the eyes. If you enter the 10th door, another sky opens up, a road opens up, and if you have the good fortune of being initiated by a perfect living master, you will find the perfect living master right there, waiting for you. And he will then take you with him. It is not a journey that goes alone. Your loneliness starts ending right at the 10th door. When you enter the 10th door and you are initiated by a perfect living master, your loneliness starts ending right there, because thereafter, all your spiritual journey to the highest levels of any heavens, any highest levels of consciousness, including the totality, including our true home, is all in the company of that master. The greatest gift we can have in this world, according to me, is initiation by a perfect living master. If you get that initiation, you are bound to have a master within you and only waiting for you at the 10th door. He does let you work your way up to the 10th door so that you have a task to do, you have part of the path to tread. But from there, he will take you to all the places he wants to show you. There have been many disciples of great master who tarried for long periods on the way. They loved the new situations inside so much. There are so many beautiful experiences that take place immediately after the 10th door at the astral plane. And some of them have been there for a long time, rejoicing and enjoying that before they move on to the next step. But the master never leaves them. Even if the physical form of the master is gone, the inner form of the master after initiation never goes away. Indeed, it becomes more manifest. And a perfect living master comes into our life, he comes in the form of a human being. He does not come in the form of some unseen angel or an unseen being. He comes exactly like us. He does not come to us as a super being. He does not come as a superman. He comes like an ordinary person. Because true friendship in this world is only possible between people who are at the same level. If somebody is so high up, you can't be true friends. You can be only admirers. You can be worshippers, but you cannot be friends. Perfect living masters have always come as ordinary people, like ourselves. And that is why they make friends with us. And this friendship is a permanent friendship. Initiation by a perfect living master gives you the opportunity to experience permanent friendship. It's not friendship for a while. It's not friendship for this lifetime. It's friendship forever, into eternity. That will never go away. Even if you want to get rid of the friend doesn't get rid of you. This friendship is unique because the love that this friend can give you is totally unconditional. There is no judgment involved in this. He will never judge how good you are, how bad you are, whether you have done good things, you have done bad things. He will always give you his compassion and his love. It's a different kind of relationship. We are constantly judging people. And the master, perfect living master, never judges anybody. He knows we are already in great trouble because of our mind, because of our judgment. He comes to release us from that, not to tie us further into it. I remember great master was once sitting, looking at his mail with his secretaries around him, and a man came running to him. And he said, "Master, I have made a big mistake. I have sinned. You told me not to take alcohol. I drank last night with a party. You told me not to eat meat, and I ate all the steaks that were there. You told me not to do this, not to womanize, I did that too. I did everything wrong last night in a strange party that I went to. Please forgive me." The master said, "Okay, you are forgiven. Don't do it again. Go away." He said, thank you, and ran away. The secretaries were surprised. They said, "Master, this guy did not follow any of your directions. And he just comes to say, I'm sorry, and you forgive him? Supposing this guy does the same things again and comes to you again, will you still forgive him?" He said, "I think even if he does this thing again and comes to me, I will still forgive him." "Master, when will you punish him?" He said, "There are too many people punishing people. The mind itself is punishing us. Don't put me in the category of punishers. Let me be a forgiver forever." That's the nature of a perfect living master. There is nothing that can stop a perfect living master from giving his compassion, love, and forgiveness to us, no matter what our condition. This is not possible in other human relationships. And as we discover that the ordinary person, who is as ordinary as we are, has this unique character, that his friendship is eternal, that he never gives up on a friend, and his love is unconditional, and his forgiveness is always there, makes a big difference in that relationship. And moreover, if we can find that although he is one being, one person like us in this world, and he has many friends like ourselves, but he can manifest himself in our consciousness, in meditation, that we can have access to him at any time we want, just by going to the 10th door inside. It makes such a big difference. No person can be alone after that. No person can say, "I am lonely," because you have a company of the Master at all time. So this is a beautiful path in which you are assured that the basic need of the soul to remove loneliness can be met. And that is met because of a perfect living Master. Some people, especially the rationalists, people who have used their minds thoroughly, question this. Why do you allow another human being, to dictate to you and become your master. Don't you have your own mind to decide things? You can worship God. You shouldn't worship a man. You shouldn't take a man to be higher than he is. Why are you taking an ordinary person to be a master? Don't you think that you are making a fool of yourself? You are getting somebody else to control your mind? These people have asked these questions, but they do not realize that there is a difference between this ordinary person we call a perfect living master and us ordinary people. His difference is, as great master would explain, the difference he used to explain by giving reference to a number of radio sets. In those days there were no television sets, but there were radio sets. He said, supposing you have 10 or 12 radio sets sitting, but they are all disconnected from their batteries, all are disconnected from the power source. They all look the same, but they don't give you the news of the world except the one that is connected. If you connect one to the power source, that radio alone will give you the news of the world. All men look alike, all human beings look alike, but the master is connected. He is connected continuously to his own home. He is connected to all levels of consciousness at all times. Therefore, he has a connection. So when he is looking at you, he is not looking at you as an ordinary human being. He is seeing all your past, present and future. He is seeing how you are troubled by things. He is able to see things that even you cannot see about yourself. Therefore, although he may be an ordinary person, he looks like us, he is connected to the higher consciousness. There is no other difference. Do not think that the master's personal life is different. He is like us. And as a man, he goes about his business, he earns his living. He does not do any work on the spiritual path by charging people money. He earns his living like we do, like everybody else does. There have been very great mystics in India who had kings and princes and rich billionaires following them, and they continued to do the work that they had for their own living. Kabir, a well-known mystic, was a weaver, and he had very rich people as his followers who told him to leave his weaving and come over and live with them. He said, no, my job, my destiny says I have to earn my living by weaving cloth. He continued to weave cloth for his living and gave the most beautiful messages and initiated people into the spiritual path. There was Ravidas, another cobbler. The cobbler was mending shoes. And the king of that place, King Pipa, he was his follower. And the king several times invited him to move to the palace and do his work from there. He said, no, my job is in this destiny to be a cobbler. I mend shoes, I make shoes, and I sell them. I'll continue to do that. But the rest of my work, spiritual work, is God's gift to me and God's work. I'll do it wherever I am. They did not change their living, and nor did they ever charge for spiritual teachings. So you have to remember there are some things we can always judge about a perfect living master. These masters have never come to take from us, they come to give us. And they give freely. The spiritual knowledge they give is freely. To maintain themselves, they live, they work, and they earn just like any one of us. So there's a big difference between people who make money out of it and those who are come to teach the spiritual path as perfect living masters. About this King Pipa, there's a nice story which I'd like to share with you, that he discovered that King Pipa discovered that this master, the cobbler master, he can sometimes out of his grace give you something extraordinary. Instead of making you wait to work hard on meditation and go to the 10th door, sometimes in a good mood, he can take you to the higher realms without having to work for it. It's a pure grace. So he decided to test out if he can get pure grace. So early morning, he left the palace incognito, didn't tell anybody he was going out, and went to the master. The master was sitting in his little hut, mending shoes, and he was surprised to see the king there. And the king said, Master, I have come as a beggar today. I beg you to give me grace, that special grace you give to people sometimes. I've come early morning for that. The master said, I'm very happy to see that you come for that. And I'm very pleased. So while he was working on a shoe, he was wetting the leather in a little pot of water, and he took that leather piece and he said, okay, here is some real good nectar, drink it. So he gave him that little dirty water from the leather. And the king put his hands like this, and when he was going to take, he saw the dirty water. He said, I came for real blessing, not for this. So he did not drink the water. He allowed the water like this to go down his sleeve. And he said, thank you, and he ran back. And he said, what a mistake I made. I thought I'll get some grace. And he was just giving me little dirty water from that leather pot of his. He saw that there was a stain on his shirt because of the leather water. And he took off the shirt and said to his attendant, get this shirt laundered immediately and take it to the laundry man who lived on the premises in the palace. So the shirt was taken there, and the man was woken up, and the washerman said, what can I do? He said, the king wants this shirt to be cleaned immediately. So the man saw that there was a little stain on the sleeve of this shirt. He told his little daughter, can you take care of this stain, and I'll prepare the hot water for washing it. The girl tried to chew upon it, which was sometimes done to take a stain off. She began to chew upon the stain. And after doing that, she began to talk of spiritual truths. The father couldn't understand what has happened to her. And next day, she was giving discourses. The king was very surprised. The shirt, of course, was cleaned and returned. And the king was surprised that in his own palace, a girl living in the servants' quarters, in the washerman's quarters, was giving spiritual discourses. He went to listen to the discourse. He said, maybe there's another saint has come up in our household. So when he went there, the girl got up to put her head on his feet. King said, no, I am not come as a king. I have come as a beggar. She said, I am not saluting you as a king. I am saluting you because all I got is from you. He said, from me? He said, everything was in the shirt. You had no idea what the shirt gave me everything. Then the king repented, and he went back to the cobbler, and he said, I made a big mistake. I did not accept the little charnamat or holy water you were giving me. I thought it was dirty water, and I gave it to that little girl, and she has got enlightened. Please give me some more of that water. Now, the cobbler master said, these things happen rarely, that once in a while, in a mood, these masters can do these things. A special moment came that time. I saw as a king, you didn't care, you were a king, you came with that particular request, and you had it. Now, do your meditation 2.5 hours every day, and one day you will get the same thing the girl got instantly. So these stories are told about these kings and masters to show that these masters have never shown in their physical life that they are different from other people. They live ordinary lives. These men, of course, some of them have beards. Some don't. They still do shir, which you know. You know what shir stands for? Shit, shave, and shower. And that's, they do just like us. They're no different. These people are like us, and they function like us. They eat, drink, die like us in their bodies. They fall sick like us. They take medications like us. In their physical life, they live the life of ordinary people. And the reason why that is so is because it is only in the ordinariness of their self that we can really come close to them and be their friends. If they were extraordinary, as human beings, as people, there will be distance created between them and ourselves. When they come just like us, it's so easy to be friendly with them, and they make friends with us. Not only that, sometimes these masters have disciples who are in a different state. Some are rich, some are poor. You will notice that when they are with the poor people, they act poor, they are poor. When they are with rich people, they act rich, they are rich. They customize their behavior, they customize their lifestyle to fit in with the lifestyle of the disciples that they are dealing with. And when the masters have come in different countries, in different places at different times. They have followed the traditions of that time. They followed the customs of that time. And that's why it's not easy to recognize a master. If somebody says, I know how to look at a person and tell he's a master, it's very difficult. One mystic says, if somebody claims to know he can recognize a master, put your hands on your ears, don't even listen to that person. Which means these masters will behave so ordinary that unless you have an inner experience with them, you can really never know that they are masters. On the other hand, if somebody says, I can go around and find a master, nobody has been able to find a master. If you go around looking at people who say, I am a master, well, you can be sure he's not a master. Masters will never claim they are masters. They don't need to. Because why should they claim to be a master when their work is to pick up marked souls, marked people for whom they have come at different times, and they reach those people anyway. You cannot find a master, the master finds you. It's always that the master will find you and you will know he is a master because of what they do to you personally, what experience they give to you personally. So that is why in India they say when the chela is ready, that means when a disciple is ready, the guru appears. They say when a disciple is ready, a master appears. It does not say that when a disciple is ready, he'll be able to find a master. They don't say that. How does the master appear? Same process I mentioned yesterday, coincidence. It's coincidental things happen one after the other. I saw a sign, I met a friend, I did something on the corner of a street, and I was able to meet somebody at the right time. What is the right time to meet a master? The right time is when our seeking is strong enough inside. We do not have to scream aloud. We do not have to use our vocal cords to search a master. The master is sought within ourselves, within our hearts. If we seek within our hearts, unspoken, the master will come into your life. I have seen it over and over again in my entire life. In every country, in every place I visited. It's not that it's confined to a particular area. Don't think that a particular area is a special area of masters, the others are not. Masters have come all over the world. In fact, great master said that there have been so many known masters in history in the East. Came in India, came in China, came in Japan, came in many of the Southeast Asian countries, and very few came in Europe. Hardly any came in the Western New World, United States, for example. That most of the people in America believed in spirits as the masters, believed in the natural spirits of nature. But the perfect living masters in human form have been very rare in this part. But every part of this earth, planet gets its turn. And he said that was more than 50 years ago when he said that the axis of spirituality itself is going to turn. And there will be more and more masters in the West. Not only that, he said that there will be masters specifically, more and more masters, perfect living masters in the United States of America. He named the country. Indeed, I must confess that I ran and came to this country in order to have a ringside seat when the show begins here. And I noticed show is beginning here. So that is why every part of the universe has had masters and will have masters. And they come wherever there are seekers. Wherever there is a seeker, a true seeker, he will find somebody to guide him temporarily. It does not mean that when you are seeking, you instantly find a perfect living master. It means you are put on track to reach the perfect living master. You may meet many masters. Indeed, it is believed that every person we meet is sort of a teacher for us. Start with the mother at birth. The mother teaches first. The mother is the first master. And then we go on to school. We have another master. We go to church. We go to temple. We have another master. And then we go to religious places. We find more masters. And then ultimately we go to spiritual disciplines of various kinds and we meet masters of various levels. And they go on to different places. And each master takes you as far as he can go. And then he says, that's it. He has taken you as far as you can go. And then you go and ultimately meet a perfect living master who takes you to your final home. So do not think that the masters who come intermediately in your life are not masters. They are masters doing their work at that time. If a child wants to go to elementary school and says, I want a PhD teacher, he is not ready for that. He has to go through school. Then he has to go there. When he reaches university, he'll meet all the doctors and PhD professors there. So at each stage in the spiritual path also, we come across different teachers. We come across different masters. And they take us as far as they can go. Because there are so many masters. Even today people ask me this question. Because I have met many of the masters who are well known. I knew them from childhood, I knew them now, and they ask me, who is a perfect living master? Can you tell us, what about that master? And I always tell them that, look, my knowledge tells me that I respect all masters because they are teaching us to go on the right path. Every master who tells you to go within is a good master. May not be a perfect living master, but a good master, serving your purpose at that time. If a master is teaching you to go into pilgrimages outside, I do not support that, because the truth lies inside and not outside. But any master who is teaching any of his disciples to go within, I respect that master. And I will continue to respect such masters. How far a master can take you depends exactly where that master himself has gone. He cannot take you further than where he has gone. But doesn't matter. Even if you follow such a master and he's taken you to the point where he can take you, and your seeking is still there, you will definitely meet a master who takes you further. And you will definitely meet a master who takes you to Sachkhand, to your true home eventually. There was I told a story earlier to some people privately, now tell you publicly, about a friend of mine whose name was Trilok Chand. He was an engineer, road engineer working in Burma, now Myanmar, Burma, and he was a very big seeker of a true master. And he was following every teacher he could find. Then he heard that there was a master in South India, in the town of Madras, who could take you and give you the highest knowledge inside yourself. He was waiting for that. So he decided to sell everything in Burma and come and meet that master. He was a very stingy person. You know what is stingy? That when we had rupees in India, like a dollar. Supposing you take out a dollar, he would look at it and say, shall I spend it or not spend it? Shall I spend it or not spend it? Not spend it. That way he accumulated in a job 30,000 bucks in his account. So he had 30,000 rupees in his account when he went to see the master in Madras. And the master told him that I'm glad you have come to me and I will give you the enlightenment you are seeking, but you have to pay the price for it. He said, what is the price? He said, same price that King Janak had to pay to Ashtabakar. I don't know how many of you have heard that story, that King Janak had to pay the price. It was a strange price tag because the master said you have to give three things to get enlightenment. You have to give your body, you have to give your wealth, and you have to give your mind. If you can give these three, you can get enlightenment. So the Madras master told Trilok Chand that give me these three things and you will get enlightenment. And since he had heard the story of King Janak, he readily agreed. So the master said, first transfer the 30,000 bucks into my account. So this man who would not even spend $1, imagine his seeking, imagine his earnestness. He transferred the 30,000 rupees to the master, who started building a temple straight away with that money. Then he said, now you've given your wealth, now give me your body. And he said, in what way? He said, you have to meditate through breath work, through pranayam, through a system by which you have to inhale and exhale, breathing in a certain way. The most important part of it is that you have to take one breath from the left nostril and one breath from the right. And should be alternate along with the other mantras that I will teach you. The breathing is very important. And you cannot use your fingers or your hands. Therefore, in order to alternate the breathing, from one nostril to the other, you have to control it from inside, because the truth lies inside and not outside. Therefore, you have to twist your tongue backwards and control it from inside. And then the master opened his mouth and showed how his tongue was so loose it could come out like a snake's tongue. And he could turn it backwards, and he performed that exercise. He says, this can only be done if I tear off your tongue from the tendons that's holding it. I have to tear it off. And that can be done either by surgical procedure, but since it's a sacrifice you're making, I will sandpaper it. And I will do it slowly every day. And not only that, to make it a painful experience, so you know you paid for this enlightenment and realization, I'll use some nettle rash, some plant which will make it more painful. Now, I would have run away at that stage. But this guy got it done. Spent 1 month with this torture. 1 month he tortured him with this. Ultimately, the tongue was loose. And then he taught him how to use the tongue to block from inside the breathing on the two nostrils, once in the right, once left. And he kept on doing that. Then he said, now you give your mind and do these repetitions of words, which he did. Ultimately, he was able to see some lights and some colors inside, but he didn't get what he wanted. He said, Master, I'm very happy what you gave me, but it's not what I looked for. I wanted to get ultimate truth. I wanted to know what the reality is. He said, this is all I can give. You'll have to wait for another master to give you the rest. This man eventually came learning from some friends about the great master. Came to Punjab, to the Beas River, and met the great master there. And great master initiated him. And then he was so happy, he was dancing all the time. The great guy. I was sitting with him one day with the master in a small group. And he said, Master, had I known that you are the real master, I would not have given those 30,000 bucks to the master in Madras. And the great master laughed and said, Lokchand, you don't know. The day you came to me, I transferred those funds to my account. That you lost nothing. The great master explained that whatever work you have done with one master has not gone waste. When you came to me, that was taken into account. And you made progress from that point onwards. And therefore, do not think you wasted your time or your money. Even with a master who could not take you any further. You had to go through that stage to reach up to that point before you could come up to me. And therefore, it is never wrong to say, I found a master who was not a perfect master, I made a mistake. It's no mistake, because that master could take you up to that point where he could, and then you have to move on to another master. So that is why it is the masters, great master said, and perfect living masters have said, never worry about who your teacher is, so long as you are making progress in the right direction. The direction is important. The direction is not outside, but inside. If a master is telling you something which takes you inside, he is telling you the right thing. Even if he can take you a little way. There are many yogis and swamis in India who are teaching people the yoga of the 6 centers below the eyes. And many of these yogis came to the great master. And he set up a separate camp for them. He called them the sadhu camp, because they were called sadhus, because they had practiced these things, these sadhana. They had practiced this sadhana in a different way than great master's way. Great master's way was not to go down below the eyes, but to rise behind and above the eyes. Because great master said that this body of ours has been divided into 2 sections. The dividing line is the eye level. Above the eyes is one area, and below the eyes, second area. Below the eyes, all the functions of the organs are meant to create energies for survival. They make you live, they make you do things in this world, they provide all the energies at different chakras, different centers, to survive here, to get experiences here. But the spiritual experiences are confined to the area above the eyes. Therefore, it's a cut-off point. What you get below the eyes in meditation is energy. What you get above the eyes is awareness. Below the eyes, you can get extraordinary energies and extraordinary experiences. Above the eyes, you get realization and awareness. They're two different things. So many people who had done good practice in the lower chakras came there. Some of them had a problem to switch their attention from these chakras. Somebody who had practiced a long time concentrating on the heart chakra, believing it to be the center of the soul, was now told that's not the center of the soul, it's the center of energies. And that the heart itself as an organ, when it stops beating, you die. Therefore, your energy is stored at that center. And by having experience at the heart center, you're not realizing yourself. You're realizing the center of energy. Whereas, if you go above, then you are able to realize who you are. Not only that, even the yogis who were practicing the yoga of the 6 centers, they would travel down to the lowest center, the 6th center, and travel upwards, stage by stage, ultimately coming to the eye center, the 2-petaled lotus. And they would say that we have arrived at ourselves. So Great Master would say, if you have to go down to the basement and then climb upstairs to come up to the 6th floor, why not start from the 6th floor and go to the 8th or 9th floor? So Great Master was always indicating that sometimes you can get caught up in these centers. But if you have practiced going to the centers and you understand the difference between energy and awareness, you will make good progress. And many of those sadhus made good progress by realizing that we had with great difficulty reached the 6th center behind the eyes. That reminds me of an interesting event that happened in Karachi, a city in Pakistan today, where my uncle was working as a meteorological officer, weatherman. He was a weatherman there, and he had a house on the beach, on Clifton Beach, very beautiful home. And he was a disciple of Great Master, as was the rest of the family. He invited Great Master to visit his home and spend some days. It was quite a long journey from the Dera to Karachi, but Great Master agreed. And we all got very excited, and I was a teenager that time. I got excited to make a trip to the beach, to my uncle's house with Great Master. But my uncle and aunt there, who were living in Karachi, used to go to another Swami, Swami Brahmanandji, who wore saffron-colored robes, and he wore a little muffler around his neck of saffron-colored, and he wore a little turban, also saffron-colored, looked very beautiful, little dark skin, beautiful eyes, and he would hold that muffler and walk in a great style like this. A great guy with a personality. They used to go to him. He used to give teaching in pranayam and give teaching in the 6 centers, meditation of the 6 lower chakras. And he also used to practice Ayurveda, the Ayurvedic system of medicine. My uncle and aunt did not go to him for the yoga, but they went for the Ayurvedic medicines. And they liked him because of his personality. When they found that Great Master had agreed to come to their house, they said, we must invite Swamiji, Swami Brahmanand also. He can meet the Master. So they went to the Swami, and Swamiji, our Master is coming from Punjab, and he'll be staying with us. We would like you to meet him. And he said, surely bring him, I will bless him. Now that's not what they expected. But the Swami was used to bless people. So he made an ordinary comment, and they were a little surprised what they will do now. And the Great Master came and stayed with them. They decided to meet this difficulty by inviting both to lunch. And then we'll make them sit on a love seat, a little sofa with 2 places to sit. So on the day the lunch was arranged, Swami Brahmanandji came and he sat on that love seat. Great Master was in the bedroom. He came, he said, Master, please sit down. And Master sat, and they said, Master, this is Swami Brahmanandji we have been talking to you about. And Great Master folded his hands and bowed and said, I am happy to meet you, Swamiji. Swamiji raised his hand like this on his head and said, I bless you. We all watched the scene. We said, what's going on? But then, after a while, great master said, Swamiji, isn't it a pity that so many Swamis and Yogis are all caught up in these 6 chakras, and none of them know about the 18 chakras? So when Brahman looked very surprised, he said, Master, I've never heard of these 18 chakras. What are these 18 chakras? He said, haven't you heard that these 6 chakras below the eyes are chakras of the pinda? Pinda means the physical body. These are physical chakras. Then behind them, behind the eyes, are the chakras of the anda. Anda is like the egg that creates this universe. The anda, and above them is the 6 chakras of Brahmanda and Sachkhanda. He said, I have never heard of that, Master. Can you explain to me a little more details? Because I have only heard of these 6 chakras, and at the most I have heard of the chakras that can take you out of the head. But I never heard where these remaining 12 chakras are. Great Master said, oh, it's a long story, but I can explain to you all these 18 chakras if you come to my dera in Byas. Now, he left it at that point. But the Swami was so intrigued by this question that how can there be 18 chakras? And I have heard about these 6 chakras, but he says they are physical. This master says they are all physical. And there is an astral set of chakras, and there is a spiritual set of chakras inside, which I am unaware of. I must explore it. After a few days, he got so agitated by this question in his mind, he told his disciples in Karachi, I am winding up my ashram, and I am going to this Punjab, to this place, to the master who came to their house, and I am going to understand this 18 chakras. So he left and came to the dera, to Byas, where great master's residence was. And in those days, I was just learning a little bit of homeopathy, and I was practicing some homeopathic remedies, and he was an Ayurveda man. So when he arrived there, great master received him with great pleasantry and said, he is a special guest. He told all the secretaries there, he should be given royal treatment, put in the best guest house. 5-star guest house he was put in. And he should have access to me 24 hours. Whenever he wants to meet me, door should be open to him. And the Swami was very pleased with that. He got good food, good residence, a lot of love from the master. And then to test out that the master really meant it, he would go at midnight or 1 o'clock and say, I want to see the master. And they would open the doors and wake up the master. And great master says, Swamiji, welcome. What can I do for you? He felt that he had really got this great treatment because of the Swami that he was. But later on, he began to attend the discourses of great master. When he would go to a discourse, great master said, Swamiji will sit next to me. So he would sit next to great master. And great master would give a discourse saying, look at all these yogis and swamis, how they are caught up in this pinda and only in the 6 chakras, know nothing about the real true spiritual path. And he would look like this. He would turn his head and stare at the great master. What is he saying? After a few days, he said to the master, Master, there's a problem I have. Yes, Swamiji, what problem do you have? Problem is when you talk, I have to keep my head bent like this, and I'm having a little pain in the neck. The great master said, I also noticed that. I think it's better that you sit in front. So from the dais, from the pedestal, they were brought down and given a special chair to sit in front. After a few days, he says, Master, I have a problem. Now, Swamiji, what is the problem now? Now the problem is, when I sit in the chair, it's so close to you, sitting up high, and I have to look up like this, and I'm getting a pain in the neck again. Great master said, I also noticed that. Therefore, you should sit a little behind. So they pushed about 20 rows behind. People all sat on the floor. So his chair was placed in the back. Then after a day or two, he again complained. Master, I have a complaint. What is it? I am blocking the view of people sitting behind me. I don't need a chair. He said, I also noticed this. Remove his chair. There's Swamiji sits there in the center, but he keeps, like anybody else, all those privileges to go 24 hours are denied. All the doors are never opened. He goes there, stands in line for anybody else. And one day he's sitting in his little Ayurvedic clinic. And I sometimes would visit him to discuss our comparative medicine. So I talked to him, and he says to me, "This master of yours is a big diplomat." I said, "Why?" He says, "He trapped me by giving me the royal treatment. If I had been treated like what I'm being treated now, I would never have stayed here. I would have gone back. He took me, made me feel like a special VIP guest, and now look, I have to stand in line like anybody else. But he's trapped me with his love. I can't go anywhere. His love is such as overpowered me, and he said trapped or something. But a couple of girls I met in Spiritual Frontiers Fellowship long ago gave me another word. That's called zapped. They said, "We are zapped." So that's what happens. What draws us to a perfect living master is not really his teachings, because the teachings are available everywhere. There's so many teachers teaching the same thing. What zaps us is the love, unconditional love that flows from a perfect living master, because there's nothing like it. So the Swami gave that example, how the masters operate differently for every person. They customize their talk, they customize their behavior, they even customize the spiritual path for each one. It's not that they say that all of you are on the same path. Here's a book, read the book and follow the instructions. It's not like that. They know that each individual is at a different state in their own karma. They are paying off their karma in different ways. They have all gone through different progressions in their spiritual life. And maybe they've gone through that spiritual life in many lifetimes. It's not in one lifetime. Sometimes we find little children who are already prepared to go onto the spiritual path. Sometimes people go much later in life. Sometimes people say we are so dense and bound by the earth element in us that we can't even imagine things in our head. That all different kinds of cases that perfect living masters get, and they deal with each case as needed. So it is not a uniform method. Sometimes they will give an answer to one person, which is not at all applicable to another. Which reminds me of another incident, that a man came to Great Master and brought his daughter with him. Maybe a teenage daughter, maybe 20 years old daughter, young girl. And he said, "Master, this is my daughter and she wants to go to school. And I want that she should be married." Our family says that the girls should be married and run a household and not go to school and get educated. That's for the boys to do. The master said, "What's the difference between girls and boys? Let her educate herself. Let her go to college and school." He said, thank you, master." They both went happy with the master's answer. Within 5 minutes, another man comes with his daughter, same age. And he says, "Master, this is my girl, become a teenage or 20, and she wants to go to school, and we want her to get married. And what is your advice?" He said, No, she doesn't have to go to school. Girls don't need to go to school. Marry her." In 5 minutes, a master has given different answers to two situations which to us observers look similar. But the masters know better than we can by observing something. They knew exactly how the karmic pattern of those two girls were and what they needed. And they would go different pathways. That is why it is not that an answer a master gives to one person applies to everybody. People get an answer what they need and what is appropriate for them at that time. For example, a master can tell a person, "You need to read more books." And later in life he can say, "The books will do nothing for you." And both answers will be correct. In fact, another incident from our own family, my mother's mother, my grandmother from the mother's side, she believed in worship of little idols. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Parvati, Lakshmi, all the gods and goddesses were made up of little idols of metal or wood or stone. And she put them all together, put a lot of incense burning there, and she had a bell she would ring. It's a very nice temple she set up in her home. And she worshipped all these idols and would sing nice hymns and songs to all these idols, and they are all gods and goddesses sitting there. And my dad, her son-in-law, he was initiated by great master. He went and told her, he says, Mother, this is not real. This idol worship will lead you nowhere. You should meet a perfect living master. She said, shut up. You know nothing about religion. You know nothing about gods and goddesses. They are real gods and goddesses. And they fulfill my wishes, and I pray to them, and they work well. And how can you tell me not to worship them? So he tried, but she would never listen to him. Then he went to great master. He said, Master, my mother-in-law worships these stones, and I have tried to explain to her, but she never listens. Why don't you come and visit us sometimes and give her some advice? And great master said, certainly. So he visited our home and visited that house of my grandmother, and she saw the great master with a white beard, nice elderly man. She respected him, and he said, I understand you have a temple in this house. She said, yes. And you worship the gods there? She said, yes. Can I also worship? Oh, sure. So she took great master, and great master took the bell and rang the bell, and they put the incense. And she looked at my dad and said, see, you are a fool, you didn't understand. Even the great master is worshipping my gods and goddesses. So he spent time with her, worshipping her gods and goddesses, surprising my dad and surprising all of us. What has gone wrong with the master? Or were we wrong all the time? But the master pleased that woman so much that she said, I will come to your satsang. And she went and attended his discourses. After attending discourses, she said, I want to get initiated. Wow. She got initiated and made some good progress, and then she went to great master and said, Master, I have a problem that I had all those gods and goddesses. You remember you came and you looked at all of them. I don't know what to do with them, because now I found the real thing is inside us. And I am now meditating inside, and I can see that the truth is all inside, not in those stones. Great master said, do you have a big gunny bag? Gunny bag means a brown bag in which the rice and wheat would come. She said, I have an old bag. Okay, put all those idols, all those gods and goddesses into that, tie it up and throw it to the river. And she did that exactly. She put all the gods and goddesses she had been worshipping into that bag and took it to the river Ravi in Lahore and dumped it into the sea and said goodbye. So, master, supposing she had tried to teach her, she would have given the same answer to him as gave to my dad. So the masters function very differently. They go to the level of the disciple to see where they can meet the immediate need, the spiritual need of the disciple at that point. And they go from there and take us up from there. I know that great master went to a place where the Sikh religion, who does not believe that there can be any living masters, that the book, holy book, Granth Sahib, is the only master. And there he came to give a discourse, and the Sikhs found out a man claiming to be a perfect living master has come here, a guru. There can be no guru. The 10 gurus were all living in the past, and they left a book for us, and that book is the final guru, and no man can ever be a guru. Something very common to most religions, which say that their master was the only one and the last one, and nobody else can come after that. It's true of many religions, almost all religions. So they also believe the book is now going to be the final guru. So when they heard, they said, we'll kill this man. They drew out their swords and said, if he comes to give a discourse as a master, we'll kill him. This news reached the master, and this happened in Rawalpindi, which is now in Pakistan. And the master said, what are you worried about? If they kill me, so what? I have to give the discourse like before, because I am doing work under the instructions of Baba Jaimal Singh, my master. I am not doing on my own. It's my master's wish to do this, I will do it. So many masters have been crucified and sacrificed in the past, it doesn't matter. But the secretaries and attendants were very worried. They thought they might get killed too, along with the master. But what the master decided was to go to the temple, the Sikh temple that morning before giving his discourse. And when he decided to go to the Sikh temples, all those Sikhs with their swords drawn were out. That what has he decided? He was going to go to another place for giving a talk, and he's coming to our temple. Not only that, the great master went and took out some money and presented to the book and bowed before it. They were shocked. They said, we made a big mistake. We thought he was pretending to be a guru. He's a disciple of our book. He's a disciple of our guru. So they put their swords back. Then the master told his Pati, the chanter who would chant from the book in the dera, he said, come and sit on the book and read page so and so from Guru Granth Sahib. And the fifth Guru's, from where you sang a song, same Guru's teaching in the book. So the chanter sat up there and began to read that poem which said, unless you can see the face of a living master in a human form, you get nothing. The book is saying that. Unless you can get the love and devotion for a person who appears in human form, you get nothing. The whole poem is about having the need for a human being as a guru. And it was being read right from that book. All those people had their heads down. And when Master got up and said, I'll also give a talk, they all came there for a talk. Most of them became his disciples. So this incident happened. So masters do things very differently in order to meet the situation of the disciples and those marked people for whom they come. And since there is a huge number of seekers in the world, the masters come at different times in different locations on this earth, on this planet. And they also work in other planets and other areas, but we are right now talking of this earth planet and the seekers on this planet. Since they come in different places, masters appear in different places. But they cannot take care of all the seekers. They come for their own chosen task. That means that the statement, many are called but few are chosen, is very true. That masters come and many people come and see them, many people follow them, but they come for picking up some of the souls which is in their list that they carry. Not a written list, but a list in their spiritual mission they carry, that they have to take these souls back to Sachkhand. They are not bothered with our karma and our lifetime here. They know these people have to go, and they will go even out of the way to go to those souls and pick them up and take them home. Those souls will be their seekers and will identify them as masters more rapidly than when the rest of the world says we can't see a master in that man, they'll be able to see. So those people in whose name they come are the marked sheep, as it were. If you call a master a shepherd, as has been sometimes referred to, they come to pick up their sheep. And if a sheep goes astray, they won't leave the sheep behind. They will go out of the way to pick up that sheep. So that is why sometimes masters travel to unknown places just for one person. And we know that that particular person is a marked soul to be taken by this master. So I have given you some information from the master's personal manual, which normally, which normally we don't talk about, but the masters have specific duties and they come with that purpose. Of course, when they meet people, there are many people enlightened, many people who have reached the same level of consciousness as the masters. They are called the Gurmukhs, those who have reached the stage when they have entirely attained the same state as the master has, but they are not masters because they have reached that enlightened state. But this is not their job to take anybody else. The difference between a Gurmukh of that stature and a perfect living master is only this. They both have the same enlightenment, but the master has a task to help the other seekers and to take the barked souls back home. Willy-nilly, they will take them back home. I say this because sometimes instead of being helpful to a master to go home, we struggle against it. Sometimes we think that our relationships here are more important. We think our attachments here are very important. Master, how can I leave this? Master, how can I leave this? So therefore, these masters create in us a desire to be close to them. What really changes us is the love of the master. There is nothing else that matters so much. It's not the teaching that affects us so much. The teaching impresses our mind. The teaching appeals to our mind that yes, there is something in consciousness inside us, and we can feel that there are stages of growth. The teaching appeals, the books appeal to us, but they appeal to our mind. It's the love that we get from a master that appeals to our soul. So, to conclude the thing that I started off from, the overcoming of loneliness. The overcoming of loneliness, these masters create by appealing to our soul and not to our mind. They give teachings to appeal to our mind, so that the mind doesn't come in the way. They are not appealing to our mind that the mind should learn what to do. They are appealing to our mind to be satisfied, contented to the point that they can do their work. Their work is with the soul. They want to take our soul back home, and the mind comes in the way, our thoughts come in the way, our doubts come in the way. And they give answers to our questions, that they give references to books and so on, so that our mind can get satisfied and say, this looks plausible, this looks worthwhile. Otherwise, look at the intellectuals. They're caught up in these books, and they're caught up in studying things for their mind, not even caring to take a chance to see what the master is saying. I studied in a university here in this country, at Harvard University. A large number of intellectual professors, highly educated, they would question with their mind things and would not even given a chance to try for their soul to experience something else. So that's why things have to be done which appeal to their mind and to keep the mind away from coming in the way of the master. I know there was a song I heard once which says that I want to love, but the words come in the way. And there is also a truth about the spiritual path, that I want to reach my truth home. I want to go to Sachkhand, but my mind comes in the way. And the mind creates doubt in me. The nature of the mind, it's really created like that, is to create doubt and fear. Supposing you are certain about something, I give you a test. You know something for certain. Think more about it. Think for a few minutes more. Think a little more, you'll have doubt about it. I mean, anything. It's so amazing that the mind is a doubt creator. Now, if doubt is created, I wouldn't bother too much, because the doubt then can be resolved somehow. But the doubt immediately leads to fear. And fear keeps us away. So doubt and fear that come because of the use of our mind comes in the way of our spiritual growth. And therefore the mind becomes an obstacle. But the mind has a particular nature. It likes pleasure. It likes something it can taste and feel good about it. Because of the nature of the mind to seek pleasure, if it can seek the pleasure that lies within us, which takes place after we made some progress, then the mind becomes helpful to us. Then wants to seek that again and again. So when meditation is a task, a chore, a dry meditation, like great master would call it, a dry meditation, the mind is an obstacle, an enemy of spirituality. But when the mind crosses that stage and begins to enjoy the other gifts which are equally pleasurable for the mind as for the soul, the mind becomes a friend. It turns from an enemy into a friend and begins to help us. So the mind is a two-faced accessory for us. It is an obstacle to begin with, creating doubt and creating fear, and becomes a servant of ours later on when we reach a certain point, especially when we reach the second stage, which is the stage of the mind itself. The Trikuti, or the three mountain plains, is called the three mountains in the inner language. And when that is reached, that is where the Akashic records are, that's where the causal plane is, where the causal body is, where the mind becomes a body of ours. At that stage, it enjoys it so much that you cannot be turned back or created a doubt by the mind. But the spiritual path starts immediately after that. So Great Master used to say, the preparation is up to the second stage, the causal stage. The spiritual path starts from there. After crossing that into the Par Brahm, beyond Brahm, you go beyond Brahm when you find who the soul is. You find who you are. And then the soul merges in totality and becomes totality. That's the spiritual path. The spiritual path is the soul discovering it belongs to somewhere else and has to merge in that and become one with that, And that is ultimately where the perfect living masters lead us. There are many teachers, but there are very few perfect living masters. Great Master used to say, even in this Kali Yuga, Iron Age in which we are sitting today, the number of perfect living masters can be counted on our fingertips of the two hands. So it's a small number, but there are many teachers who will eventually lead you to the perfect living master. Your seeking should keep on going on in your heart. If you meditate, and any kind of meditation, you'll eventually find that so long as the meditation is directed in the right direction, which means finding the truth inside, you'll find a perfect living master. At the end of it, keep going. Do not withdraw. Okay? I'd like to talk to you in the afternoon a little bit about the importance of what food we eat in meditation, and what drink we drink, and what lifestyle is best, most conducive to spiritual growth. I'll talk about the subject later today. And I know that all masters have a great sense of humor, and they can laugh not only at a joke, they can laugh at situations that we would cry over. They say, what is there to cry about? Their attitude is life, it has all these events on it, take it with amusement. And if you are amused by life, you laugh. So Great Master's laughter was very infectious. We would all laugh with it. Well, thank you very much. We'll see you later in the afternoon.